introduction. I'm gonna share my screen first. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. So yeah, I also forgot to mention that I got a PhD in hydrology, but before that I also got a master in remote sensing, both the microwave and other type of remote sensing. So that interest in remote sensing has built up along the years, coupled with hydrology and then biogeochemical cyclings. So all of that has led the way for me to present here today. I'm so honored and so happy. And thank you so much for inviting me, Anna. This is a very exciting opportunity. I see Baptiste is here. That's our Berkeley Labs leading PI for the Antarctic. So I'm happy he is also here, so we can also discuss some opportunities at the end. I'm very looking forward to the discussion with everyone. So as Anna mentioned, I'm a research scientist at the North Berkeley National Lab, and I'm a modeler, currently as pure modelers. But I'm also very interested in improving process-based model using remote sensing data. So here you see this kind of very beautiful graph from Ted's group. And so we know that the Panarctic, the ecosystem and hydrology and the landform are changing because of the warming. And now we saw a lot of interest in, for example, Antarctic and other projects DOE funded are very interested to see if we can build a predictive tool to predict the Panarctic ecosystem response to future warming, and ELM is a key tool for them. So this graph, this very beautiful graph is from Anna's paper, showing how the ice-rich polygon type degrade along with the permafrost thaw. So at the beginning, you would see this type of kind of inundation here. Along with the permafrost thaw, you will have some drainage, and then you see some drying along because of the increased connectivity. And then by the end, maybe you will see this dryness along the whole landscape, which will impact the methane emissions significantly. This is no land polygon type. Some other areas that Antarctic also has a lot of instruments and projects are Seaward Peninsula in Alaska. Over those areas, you can see some scenarios with decreased inundation, some other areas you see increased. So those type of dynamics are very important to simulate methane emissions. So I want to introduce a little bit about E3SM. I'm not sure how many people, audience here are from the modeling side. Just a little bit, very brief introduction about E3SM, particularly the land model, the land component of this is a system model. So because this is a land model, so the resolution is super cross. So I'm showing here, this can be a 50 kilometer by 50 meter square, grid cell, which will be usually partitioned into different components according to the type of those units. We have naturally vegetated area, lake, urban area, glacier, and agriculture. So we have each type of those units will have their fractions. And of course, for the vegetated area, we have different type of vegetation, if it's grass or shrub or trees, and then we characterize them using PFD. And then for the below ground biogeochemical cycling, we have this cascaded deposition scheme. So basically, we characterize the different carbon pools using those boxes. And then we characterize them using different turnover time and then transfer ratios between the carbon pools. And then, so just saying this, you can point out some problem with the model. It doesn't have the wetland unit, explicit wetland unit, and it has static PFDs and the soil. And then, so the BGC component is kind of black box representations. So on our side, we are working to improve all those problems, but there's still some other things that significantly impacted the methane emissions. So this is the graph for the ELM methane module, which was developed by my supervisor, Bill Riley, about more than 10 years ago. So as you can see here, it has the key components, the key processes for methane, including production, oxidation, and the different transport pathways, either from diffusion, evolution, and arrangement transport. And then to solve, because the coarse resolution, so we have to solve the reaction transport equation twice for unsaturated and saturated zone. And then we estimate the gray cell as methane emissions using this inundation fraction to do the weighted average. And then we can see, so this is a very, in my opinion, this is a very smart way to bypass all those details within the grid cell, but we still have some other issues, for example, because we don't have this explicit representation of methane, wetland unit. So we assuming the methane production as just linking directly with the whole grid cell heterotrophic respiration, which then will be modified by the environmental factors. So this is another issue. So we're hoping to implement an explicit wetland unit in the model right now. As you can, well, if I think not only for the modelers, I think other people would also have this intuition that the modeling capacity decreased with spatial scale a lot. And then currently we're at this point. But like with the recent advancement in the modeling side and also the NGEE-Arctic, for example, those big field camping, and we have a lot of data sets, and the project, for example, the Permafrost Discovery Gateway, that developed those very cool data at very high resolution of the Pan-Arctic. So maybe we put them together, all those projects together, maybe we can tilt this point to this point, maybe even higher, like for the regional. So I'm going to show some cases of ELM simulated methane emissions with and without consideration of the natural connectivity, and then explore the opportunities for us to improve the ELM methane emissions. So this is one case that we studied at the Barrow site, which is also one of the NGEE-Arctic sites. And then to improve the methane emissions, the first thing we can check is the environmental conditions, including soil temperature and soil moisture, and then water table and then inundation. So for this case, we improved the soil temperature simulations, particularly the 0 curtain period, which is the period when soil temperature linger around 0 Celsius degree because of the soil water phase change. So by improving the soil temperature, we also improved the ALD and improve the methane emissions. But you can see how important the freezing sowing cycles matter here, because we found that, oops, that's weird. I missed one slide. Let's see. Oh, okay, sorry. It's later. But soil temperature is not the only point, the component that impact the methane emissions. As I showed earlier, so we have biotic processes and abiotic processes, and the interactions between the abiotic and biotic processes. So we use those static functions to prescribe the interactions between those processes. And then, so I showed some other functions and also ELM functions. So to get So after we improved the soil temperature, we still cannot match the observed methane emissions. And then we found there's another problem within those environmental influencing functions. So we optimized these functions that are used to modify the decomposition rate. And then so apparently this prescribed interaction relationship is also not matching the real world process. But like along within the current framework, we can still improve. And we found the zero cooling period methane emissions is contributing a lot and contributing a lot of methane emissions. And then the whole cold season methane emissions basically contribute about half of the total annual methane emissions. So it's not a kind of contradictory to what we did understand before. We thought maybe growing season methane emissions is the major component, but cold season is also matter a lot because it's even though the methane emission rate is small, but it's persistently emit methane through the whole cold season. So then accumulative numbers is also very large. So we applied those kind of calibrated parameterizations and to other sites or other areas, and we found also some significant improvement. But because of those sites, we have the data dynamics kind of observations. So we prescribed the inundation fraction from the site data, and then to inform the model to calculate this methane emissions. But in reality, for other areas, if we don't have the observed inundation fractions, it's very hard to correctly simulate inundation fractions. So then remote sensing data is very useful to do that. Another thing is because of those black box representations, we cannot capture some features of, for example, here I'm showing the hysteresis effect of methane emissions, which means so because of the black box representation, which don't have the explicit representation of microbes, and it doesn't have the dynamic interaction functions. So if you have a same soil temperature, the model would give you almost the same mass emissions, right? But in reality, for example, here, this is the spring thaw time. When you have the soil temperature here, it gives you this much. This is observed mass emissions here, and then later in the fall season, you will see, given the same soil temperature, you have so much higher mass emissions. So that's another work we are doing now. We're incorporating the microbial-based functional groups into ELM to better simulate this part. So I won't go to details about this. This is a kind of not our topic today. Another case study is showing the same practice at the Hill Snow simulcast bog areas. So I made this drawing to show how this is different from the lowland polygon type nanoforms. So usually it's maybe because of the wildfire, and then we see some abrupt permafrost thaw, and then we have depression areas which turn into simulcast bogs, and then it has very dynamic carbon dioxide and methane emissions, especially which includes the impact from the vegetation shift. And even now, so this kind of a process is depending on the age of the box. Maybe it's 1,000 years or 500 years. But even like since 1980s, we still see those over this short kind of relatively short period. We still see the dynamics in vegetation, and then because of an subsidence, because of vegetation shift, we still see those dynamics. And so we're also working to improve this part in ELM. So for the first case, we don't consider natural connectivity, and here we consider the natural connectivity and then natural transport of heat and water together, and then we can better improve the soil temperature again, but we still cannot get the very high contrasting difference between the bog edge, whereas the bog center methane emissions, this is very hard to capture. So, and another study has shown that those simulcast bogs that are methane emission hotspots, and then those hotspots methane emissions are decreasing with the distance from the ocean water. And then so those high heterogeneity in methane emissions is also a big challenge for us to capture using the model. Now, so given the recent advancement in permafrost discovery, given a lot of high resolution data sets have been developed. So I think it's really a key timing for us to work together to think a way to incorporate all the data and modeling skills together to move forward the modeling community, and maybe that's also beneficial to the remote sensing community. So currently for ELM, as I mentioned, we for the global scale, we basically simulate everything at 50 kilometer by 50 kilometer, but we are also kind of working to reduce the spatial resolution. For example, here, very recent work. This is from PNNL, another national lab. They developed the 1 kilometer data that it has to be used by E3SM. And then, so this is kind of increased the capacity for ELM to simulate at 1 kilometer. But I mean, compared to remote sensing to other, for example, MODIS and other remote sensing Centennial, those data sets, this 1 kilometer is still high. But for us, for you guys, it might be coarse, but for us, it's super high already. And then we can combine those data sets and improve the modeling capacity with PVG's data sets. For example, here I list several. I'm sure there are a lot more, and I'm sorry if I don't put everything here. So here I'm showing the surface water change data set on this map, and PDG also has 50 centimeter resolution SWH polygons, and then other data sets that are very useful for methane emissions. And then this is kind of characterize the physical part, and then NGEE-Arctic has a lot of measurement for the that's relevant for the biogeochemical cycling part. They have the kind of snow observations, soil temperature, and then wet table, and then the CO2 and methane flux data, and then we can put everything together to explore some opportunities here. Listing several, then we can discuss later. So for the surface water change data set as shown here, it's very critical for us to improve the simulated inundation dynamics. We can also maybe just prescribe the dynamics using this remote sensing based data. So we have, for example, here at the barrel, NGEE-Arctic has some a very long term observations of methane emissions, and I'm showing here. This is the paper published by our colleague, Sigrid, and then another modeling work is also focusing on this area, and then they characterize the model, which is ATS. So using the topograph, and then very detailed information about those areas, those polygon types topograph, and then they can simulate the natural and vertical heat transport. Another study is also parameterize the ATS and using this NIDA-based data, and then to study how nanosubsidence impact abrupt permafrost thaw. And but with our awesome panactic region as a wedge polygon map, maybe they can apply the model to some other areas to study the same type of issue. But as you can see, those type of studies, they all focus on the geophysical part. It's not linked with the biogeochemical part. So we are working together, like to modeling capacity has to meet together to improve the methane emissions and the carbon dioxide from the permafrost region. So the earlier this kind of opportunity I'm showing is to focus on the subsidence and then the topography change. And here, this is also important for snow redistribution. And here I'm showing another colleague from PNNL that investigate how those micro topography impacts snow redistribution and the runoff, and then the thermal states of the system. And again, so this is also very helpful for us to kind of apply the modeling capacity to other areas. Now, another opportunity I'm thinking maybe we can also taking advantage of the recent advancement in machine learning. I have another colleague, Jing. He is also process-based modeler, but he has another very special he's also expert in machine learning. So because of the high computational time for modeling at very high resolution, so if we put them together but build a circuit model using machine learning, which can reduce the computational time by maybe 80% or 90%, and then we can apply the circuit model to larger areas, and then we can have a maybe pan-Arctic high resolution estimation of methane emissions. And another study I'm showing here is from NARA, and here used this nested modeling strategy to study how the misrepresentation of vegetation type along with the different spatial scale the model is applied. And we can see here, this is also along the Alaska lowland polygon regions. So this type of nested modeling strategy can also help us to build an upscaling capacity. So that's some strategies that I have been thinking of, but I'm very looking forward to the discussion with everyone here to see if there's some other ways we can proceed with to improve the modeling part and also the remote sensing part. So this is kind of my wish list. So and now asking me to think about the data sets and tools that are useful, that might be useful for us modeler. So here is, I need some, maybe I'm sure there are much more data sets and tools that are necessary for us as a community. So here, first thing, of course, is the polygonal characteristics, including geometry, the micro topograph, and then water dynamics, which can be linked with the surface water dynamics as one of the remote sensing data showing, and the ice content, like the ice ridge. That's very, this is a subsurface properties, so it's very hard to measure or observe directly, but maybe we can work together to develop this relationship that we can use observed as content at this point, and then some other information, and then we can build an informed or drift algorithm, and then we can estimate as content for other areas. And then vegetation composition is also very important for us. I know we have the vegetation map, but maybe this is not the interest of PTG. I'm not sure. We can talk about later. And the tools, if we have some visualization tools, that would be very useful. So we can check which areas have the very dramatic change over the years, and the inundation conditions are, if the inundation conditions are changing by those visualization tools. And that is the locating tool. If I want to see where's this NGEE-Arctic site, and then I can locate this site on the map, and then I can maybe download the data sets I'm interested along around these areas. So a downloading tool would be very useful. So that's some very rough wish list. I'm sure I probably will add more later, but I'm very happy to discuss with you. Thank you very much. I'm very looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Jing. Fantastic, fantastic. See here. Oh, Doug has a question for you here in the chat right away. So Doug is one of the Google fellows that's working with us, just started the last 2 weeks here, and they'll be with us for 6 months. So Doug is a user interface. He works a lot with it, what you interact with, you know, on the page. So where do those isometric layer cake images that show the depth of ice wedges come from? How do you move from a 2D projection to that? So maybe pull up that slide. The layer cake images that show the depth of the ice wedges.
Yeah, here is this the one. Is this the one that you are talking about?
Yeah, let us know, Doug. Feel free to unmute.
Yeah, please.
I see you're unmuted, Doug, but we can't hear you. Must be, yeah, I see you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Yeah, from like moving from 2D to 3-dimensional, it's really, really tricky. So we have to parameterize everything for the model. We have to let the model know firstly the topograph, the macro topograph, and then the ice ridge below some areas and the whole large ice content. So from this study, I'm not part of this work, but I assume they are using the some measurements from NGEE-Arctic. That's what I'm saying. If we want to study some other areas, without any measurement, how can we do that? We can think about some, like, establish some infer algorithm that we can apply the algorithm to estimate the S ridge or S content in other areas according to the surface characteristics, maybe.
Exactly, yeah. And I know Misha Kanevsky up in Fairbanks, who does a lot of field work, mapping ice wedges and how deep they are and where they are. And he's always emphasizing that if you want to get that 3D representation of the ice, then field measurements is very, very important, because it's not enough to just look at the ice wedge polygon from above from a satellite image, like the geometrics of that, because it could be the same geometrics of ice wedge polygon in one region, and then in Alaska, and then you go to Russia, it has the same geometrics, but because there's different histories of that landscape, you can still have different ice wedge sizes associated. So Doug, I'd say field measurements is critical to combine here with the big geospatial data, and that it's important that the geospatial data is at a spatial scale where you can actually link the two as well. So that's where the 50 centimeters come in.
I also want to mention one point. So you see a lot of studies from the geophysical part, but not much from the biogeochemical part in terms of modeling, because of the. So we can prescribe everything to the physical modeling needs, but for biogeochemical, technically, we cannot do that. We cannot like just apply disturbance, apply this change to the model. What we usually do is like we spin up the model for 1,000 couple of thousand years to get vegetation to grow, the soil to, so especially soil carbon to get equilibrium, and then we simulate along the way from maybe 1901 to the present time to simulate the vegetation dynamics. I mean, but this doesn't include the disturbance, including the non-subsidence and those changes. So it's very hard for biogeochemical modelers to just to apply, to kind of absorb the non-subsidence into the model, but we are working on that to kind of incorporate the disturbance to the modeling side. Oh, I see Ben has oftentimes when we coin the scenario was in, that's right.
Yep. Exactly,
Yeah,
Ben.
just
Good.
following up there on Anna's comment for Misha doing a lot of coring. Misha and I were coring together last August, and we were trying to get a complete ice wedge polygon center permafrost core. And we did about 6 or 7 holes, and every hole we hit an ice wedge at depth. So there are secondary and tertiary ice wedges in these networks beyond just these like primary configurations there.
Mm-hmm. So Ben, would you say then, if you would map ice wedge coverage from Shandi's ice wedge polygon map, it would be more likely that you underestimate the ice coverage, right?
Yeah, I would say in general, yes, just because what the Shandi's algorithm is based on is what you can see at the surface, right? So it's based on kind of the microtopography of the current land surface, and there are older land surfaces at depth that might reveal different patterns in the ice wedge networks.
Yep. Oh, we got a question from David, who is also a Google Fellow, software engineer. Go for it.
Hello. So my question is about for the remote sensing folks. I know we talk a lot about like the picture at the surface can be very different from sort of the picture underground. Is there any like existing tools that can do like ground penetrating analysis, similar to like how people have been able to like discover things under the cover of like the Amazon rainforest using like different sorts of like penetrating lasers and radars? Like, is there no censoring tool that you can use to like analyze underneath the surface, sort of like some sort of radar or sonar, or am I asking for something out of a sci-fi movie?
Jing, your coworker Baptiste would be a good one to take this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go for it, Baptiste. Good to see you.
Thanks for the question. Yeah, good to see you. It's a long time, and thanks, Jing, for your talk. Yeah, I mean, this is a great question. I think there's been a lot of tools developed over time. We call them geophysical methods, right? So penetrating ground radar, electrical resistivity tomography, seismic methods. So there's a large range of methods that can be used to image the subsurface. Generally, they are ground-based, which means you have to go there and do a certain installation, inject current in the ground, and try to reconstruct a model of what is the subsurface. And this method just measure geophysical parameters such as ground resistivity and so on. And so we always rely on soil cores and cores, and there is the value of really coring, right? And the geophysical methods are here to help the scaling of this basically core, the information we gain from the cores, right? So together you start to create model of the subsurface where you estimate the distribution of physical properties over space. And so one of the challenge, and I think that Ben mentioned that, and Anna too, right? One of the topic that we try to work on now is finding this correlation between what we see in the subsurface and what we see at the surface, knowing that at this time, I would say the best way, or one of the best approach to scale up this subsurface understanding is really to play with that link between what we observe at the ground-based level, let's say like that, and in the subsurface, with what we can observe from remote sensing products. I mean, and there are some, I will say, there are some remote sensing products that tell us a little about the very near surface or very deep in the subsurface, like GRACE, right? There are a few methods, but they are very limited in terms of geophysics. So we play a lot with this indirect connection between the surface properties and what we see in the subsurface.